I'm Amber, 28 years old, from Huntington Beach, California. I was thrilled when my family threw me a graduation party after I finally earned my degree in business administration. But as I walked into the living room, the banner hanging across the wall hit me like a slap. "Congratulations, loser." My parents burst out laughing, calling it a harmless prank. Then they brought out the cake box. I opened it and the icing spelled out the same thing: "Congratulations, loser." More laughter erupted, my dad chuckling hard, my mom giggling behind her hand, my sister smirking from the corner. I didn't join in. Instead, I laughed out loud, a sharp, forced burst that made the room go quiet. Everyone started shaking, eyes wide, waiting for my reaction. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. But not before doing this one thing that would change everything. They called me in a panic 3 weeks later because... Before I dive deeper into my story, I'd love to hear what time it is where you're listening and which city you're in. It's amazing to see how far these real-life tales travel. The party was set up in our living room with blue and gold streamers draped from the ceiling and balloons clustered in the corners. A big banner stretched across the wall that read, "Congrats, Amber." It felt like they had actually put effort into it for once, real decorations, instead of just throwing something together last minute. People were there too. Family members, a few neighbors from our Huntington Beach block, even some of Dad's co-workers from the construction site. Food was laid out properly on the table: fresh salads and grilled burgers, not the usual takeout boxes. I had never seen them go this far for me. They had for Brittany, though. When she started that little art class in high school and won some minor award, they threw a whole barbecue, invited her friends, even got her a new sketchpad set. And when she dropped out of community college after one semester, no one batted an eye, no lectures, just encouragement to try again. My mom came over first, wrapping me in a hug that felt warmer than usual. "We're so proud of you, honey," she said, her voice soft, but with that edge I knew too well. "You've always been the strong one, you know. You didn't need as much hand-holding as Brittany did." It was her way of defending it, I guess, like she felt a hint of guilt but pushed it down by reminding herself I was okay on my own. I blinked, trying to process it, years of feeling like I was just the reliable kid who didn't deserve the fuss. But today, maybe it was different. Dad slapped my back next, chuckling a bit. "First in the family to finish college, eh? Good job, kid." He avoided looking me straight in the eye, like he knew there were old issues bubbling under but didn't want to stir them up. Typical of him, always playing the peacekeeper without actually fixing anything. Brittany was off to the side, fiddling with her phone as usual, not even glancing up much. She looked a little uncomfortable when she saw me, noticing, shifting her weight like she wasn't sure how to act. Someone handed me a drink, and there was a toast from a cousin, people coming up to shake my hand, asking about my job prospects in business admin. I was starting to float on it, letting myself believe this was real pride. Then they wheeled out the cake, a big layered thing that looked custom ordered, not some store-bought sheet. Mom carried it in with a smile, setting it down in front of me. Dad nodded, still grinning. "Go on, check it out," he said. I leaned in, still caught in the moment, but when I read the icing, my stomach dropped. "Congratulations, loser." It was right there in bold letters. At first I thought it was a mix-up, some bakery error. But then the laughter kicked in. Dad started at a low chuckle that built into a full belly laugh, like it was the funniest thing ever. Mom tried to hide her giggle, covering her mouth, but she couldn't stop. "Oh, come on, Amber, it's just a joke," she said, her tone defensive again, like she sensed my reaction but wanted to brush it off. Brittany smirked too, but there was a flicker of bourgeois in her eyes, like she wasn't fully on board, but went along anyway. I scanned the room, a few guests shifting awkwardly, exchanging glances, but no one spoke up. That's when I spotted it. A smaller banner tucked in the corner, one I hadn't noticed before. "Congrats, failure." It was like a double punch, the cake and the banner hitting at once. Something inside me snapped, but not in anger or tears. It was clearer than that. I picked up my glass, raised it slowly, and the room hushed a bit, everyone watching. I forced a laugh out loud, loud and sharp, echoing off the walls. It made them all freeze, eyes widening, bodies tensing like they were shaking inside. To the family, I said, my voice steady, for always being exactly who I thought you were. The laughter died completely. I nodded at the decorations, the cake, the banner. So much effort into this, I'll never forget it. The silence stretched, Mom fidgeting, her guilt showing more now as she glanced at Dad. He cleared his throat, trying to play it off. Amber, don't take it so seriously. It's just... But I cut in, lifting the glass higher. And to the future, because I've finally learned how to treat you the way you've always treated me. No one said a word. I held their stares for a moment, letting the tension build, the unease sink in. Then I downed the drink in one gulp, set the glass down with a deliberate clink, and turned for the door. Brittany watched me now, her smirk gone, replaced by that bois roi look again, like she knew something was off but couldn't place it. Dad tried one last time. Come on, kid, stay. It's your party. I paused at the threshold, smirking back. Oh, and one more thing. You'll figure it out soon enough. As I walked out, the silence followed me, thick and heavy. No yelling, no scene, just that lingering shake in the air. They probably tried to laugh it off after I left, telling themselves I was overreacting, that I'd come around. But they had no idea what was coming. For years, I had been the one they relied on, the strong one who didn't need attention. Brittany got the praise, the second chances, the support. When she flunked out of her first attempt at beauty school, they paid for her to try again. No questions. Me, I worked 2 jobs through college, paid my own way with loans and scholarships, never asked for a dime. And now this joke. It was the final confirmation. I wasn't angry in the hot, exploding way. It was colder, sharper. I got in my car, pulled out my phone, and made the first move. But that was just the start. The real consequences would unfold over the next 3 weeks, and by then they'd be the ones shaking for real. In that moment, as I drove away from our Huntington Beach home, the ocean breeze coming through the window, I felt a shift. All those times I swallowed the pain, told myself it didn't matter. It did. And now they were about to learn what it felt like to be on the receiving end. The party wasn't the end. It was the beginning of me finally standing up. Driving away from that party in Huntington Beach, the ocean air hitting my face through the open window, I couldn't stop thinking about how I'd let myself believe they were proud of me. That banner, that cake, it wasn't just a prank. It was a reminder of where I stood in my family's eyes. All those years of being the invisible one came rushing back, and it wasn't just a vague feeling anymore. It was sharp-cutting, like a truth I'd been dodging my whole life. When I was 6, I came home from a school science fair, clutching a first-place ribbon for my little volcano project. I was beaming, waiting for Mom or Dad to say something, anything. Brittany, 4 at the time, had scribbled some colorful shapes on paper. Mom gushed over it, pinned it to the fridge, called her our little Picasso. Dad ruffled her hair, said she'd be an artist someday. I held out my ribbon, hopeful. Dad glanced at it, shrugged. Science fairs are cute, Amber, but they're not a big deal. Mom gave me a quick smile, distracted, like she was already thinking about Brittany's next masterpiece. That's nice, honey, she said. Just don't get too full of yourself. I wasn't trying to brag. I just wanted them to see me. By 10, I stopped expecting anything. Brittany got in trouble at school for skipping class, and Mom brushed it off. She's just creative, needs her space. If I forgot to do one chore, I was irresponsible. When Brittany got a C in art, Dad said it was the teacher's fault. My straight A's, barely a nod. My Aunt Jessica saw it all. She'd come over for holiday dinners, watch Brittany get praised for nothing while I was ignored. Once, when I was 12, she pulled Mom aside in the kitchen. I overheard her through the door. You're favoring Brittany too much. Samantha, she said, voice firm. It's going to hurt Amber, and you need to be fair. Mom laughed it off, defensive. Amber's fine, Jessica. She's strong, doesn't need the same attention. Aunt Jessica didn't push, but she looked at me later that night, her eyes saying she knew it wasn't right. That was the first time I realized someone else saw it too, but it didn't change anything. High school was more of the same. I worked my butt off, got into UC Irvine on a scholarship, paid my own way with part-time jobs and loans. Brittany tried community college, flunked out after one semester, and mom and dad didn't even blink. She'll figure it out, they said, handing her money for clothes, art supplies, whatever she wanted. They paid her tuition up front, no questions asked, while I was scraping by on tips from waitressing. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was stronger for it. But deep down, it stung every time they celebrated her failures like they were victories. The worst part came when I was 22, still in college. I'd been saving up, putting aside $5,000 from my jobs for a used car to get to campus easier. One day, I checked my joint savings account. Mom had access because I trusted her. It was empty. I confronted her, heart pounding. She didn't even look guilty, just shrugged. "We needed it for Brittany's new car," she said, like it was obvious. "You're doing fine, Amber. You don't need it as much as she does." Brittany was there when Mom said it, shifting uncomfortably, her eyes darting away. "I didn't know they took your money," she mumbled, but she didn't give the car back or say no to it. She just accepted it like always. That was when I knew. She wasn't clueless. She saw the favoritism, felt a little bad maybe, but she never pushed back because it worked for her. Aunt Jessica heard about it later, called me up. "I told them years ago this would happen," she said, her voice tight. "They didn't listen, Amber. They think you're so strong you don't need them, but that's no excuse." Her words stuck with me, validation that I wasn't imagining it, that this wasn't just in my head. But it didn't fix the hole it left. I kept going. Graduated with honors, landed a job in business admin, all on my own. Brittany. She tried starting a nail salon last year, used mom and dad's money, and when it tanked, they didn't care. They co-signed her loans, paid her rent, while I was the one they called when they needed help with bills. I did it. Paid their utilities, covered small debts. Because I thought that's what family did. I even co-signed a loan for Brittany's next big idea. A new salon, $10,000, thinking maybe this time they'd see me as more than the strong one. But that night at the party with the cake and the banner laughing in my face, it hit me. They didn't just overlook me. They didn't care. All those years of swallowing it, hoping one day they'd be proud, were a waste. Mom's defensive, "you're strong" excuse, dad's half-hearted peacekeeping, Brittany's bourgeois glances that never led to action. It was all the same pattern. Aunt Jessica's warning from years ago echoed in my head louder than ever. They'd pushed me too far, and that betrayal, that $5,000 they took without asking, was the final straw. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was done. As I sat in my car that night, the ocean waves crashing in the distance, I knew what I had to do. They thought I'd always be there, the reliable one to clean up their messes. But they were wrong. And they were about to find out just how wrong. That realization in the car after the party didn't fade. It grew, turning into a plan as I drove through Huntington Beach, the streetlights flickering past. I wasn't going to explode or confront them right then. That would give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Instead, I decided to pull back in stages, starting small, letting them feel the absence bit by bit. For years, I'd been their quiet safety net, sending money every month to cover little things. Utility bills when they were short a couple hundred for dad's truck repair, even chipping in for mom's medical copays. It added up. But I did it without fanfare, thinking it was my role as the strong one. No more. Week 1, I stopped it all. No transfer to mom's account, no Venmo for the electric bill they'd mentioned last month. I didn't warn them, didn't send a text explaining. Just silence on my end. The first call came 2 days after the party. Mom's number lit up my phone while I was at work staring at spreadsheets in my business admin job. I let it ring, my thumb hovering over the screen. The voicemail popped up a minute later. "Amber, honey, it's Mom. Something's up with the bill payment. Did you forget? Call me back, okay? I know you're strong, but we could use the help." There was that vulnerability in her voice, a slight crack. like she was admitting she needed me but didn't want to say it outright. I deleted it. Didn't reply. It felt strange at first not jumping to fix it, but then a wave of relief hit. For once, I wasn't the one holding everything together. Dad tried next to text that evening. "Hey kid, Mom said the bills are late. You okay? Let's talk." He was doing his peacekeeper thing, avoiding the real issue from the party, like if he ignored it, we'd all pretend it didn't happen. But it was half-hearted, no follow-up call, just that message hanging there. I read it, felt a twinge of the old guilt, but pushed it down. No response from me. Brittany didn't reach out that week, probably assuming Mom and Dad had it handled, or maybe she was too wrapped up in her own stuff to notice yet. I imagined her at home scrolling through her phone, not realizing the support she'd indirectly benefited from was gone. As the days went on, I replayed more moments in my head, fueling my resolve. Like the time last year when Brittany's first nail salon idea flopped after 3 months. She'd spent the startup money on supplies and rent, but customers didn't come. Mom and Dad didn't scold her. They hugged her, said, "It's okay, you'll get it next time," and started planning how to fund round 2. Me, I was the one they asked to co-sign the loan for her new attempt, $10,000 from the bank. "You're good with money, Amber." Dad had said, his tone casual, like it was no big deal. "It won't affect you." I said yes back then, out of habit, but now that cosign was still active, hanging over me. Week 1 was just the start. Stopping the monthly help was testing the waters, seeing how they'd react without me as the fallback. By the end of the week, another voicemail from Mom, her voice a bit shakier. "Amber, the power company called. We need that payment. Please call me. I thought you were okay after the party. It was just a joke, you know." There was the guilt peeking through her defensive tone, mixed with a hint of worry, like she was starting to sense something bigger. Dad followed with a call that night, his message gruff but trying to keep peace. "Amber, what's going on? Mom's upset. We can talk about the party if that's it. Just fix the bill thing, yeah?" He didn't apologize, didn't address the banner or the cake directly, just skirted around it as always. I listened, then deleted. No reply. It was liberating, that silence. For the first time, I wasn't the one smoothing things over, apologizing for their mistakes. They were feeling the pinch, and it was only week 1. I spent that weekend alone in my apartment near the beach, walking the sand, thinking about how long I'd carried them. The monthly supports weren't huge, a few hundred here and there, but over time it was thousands I'd given without thanks. And now stopping it cold without warning was my way of saying enough. They probably told themselves I was busy or upset, but would come around. Brittany might have asked Mom about it, her boy Roy growing, if she pieced together that my money had been part of her safety net. But I didn't care. The relief grew stronger each day I didn't respond. It was like shedding a weight I didn't know was so heavy. As week 1 ended, a final text from Dad popped up. "Amber, call us. This isn't like you." He was right. It wasn't. But that's exactly why it felt so good. They were starting to shake, just like at the party, and they had no idea the real pullback was coming. Week 2 would bring the warning, and if they didn't change, which I knew they wouldn't, week 3 would seal it. For now, though, ignoring those calls, feeling the space I'd created was enough to keep me going. They thought I was still the reliable Amber. They were wrong, and the consequences were just beginning. A week after I stopped the monthly payments, I decided it was time for the next step. I wasn't ready to let them off the hook, not after that party, and all those years of being the invisible one. So in week 2, I sent a single text to Mom, Dad, and Brittany. Short and clear. "I'm considering pulling my cosign from Brittany's loan for the new nail salon. Change how you treat me, or it's gone." It was $10,000 on the line, their big plan for Brittany's second shot at her dream. I knew they wouldn't take it seriously. They never did when it came to me. No reply came that day, just silence, like they thought I was bluffing or would cave, as always. By the end of week 2, Mom called, her voicemail less soft than before. "Amber, what's this about the loan? We're counting on it for Brittany. You're so strong, honey. You don't need to do this over a silly party joke. That defensive guilt was there again, her way of admitting fault without owning it, like she thought calling me strong would make it okay. I didn't call back. Dad texted next, still trying to keep peace. Kid, let's not make this a big deal. Talk to us, we'll sort it out. He avoided mentioning the favoritism, the banner, the cake, as if ignoring it would erase the past. Brittany sent a message too, her tone shaky. Sis, I need that loan. I didn't know Mom took your savings for my car, I swear. Don't pull it, please. Her boy Roa was real, but she didn't apologize or push back against Mom and Dad's choices. She just wanted the money to keep flowing. I waited, gave them a chance to show anything different. They didn't. So in week 3, I made the call to the bank from my office, my voice steady as I removed my name from Brittany's loan. It was done in 10 minutes, no drama, just a simple form. The loan collapsed without my credit backing it, and Brittany's salon plan was dead. That's when the calls exploded. Dad got through first, his voice low, more honest than I'd ever heard. Amber, can you come home and talk? I know I screwed up letting things get unfair. I should have stepped in. Please don't do this to Brittany. It was the closest he'd come to admitting he'd failed as a peacekeeper, but it was still about her, not me. I let him talk, his words piling up, then replied coolly. Dad, I'm just treating you the way you've treated me. I hung up before he could respond. Mom was next, her call an hour later, voice cracking with that mix of guilt and defense. Amber, why are you doing this? I thought you were stronger than Brittany. She needs this more than you. That party was a mistake, okay? She couldn't say sorry outright, just leaned on the same excuse that I was fine without their support. I cut her off. Mom, a mistake is forgetting a birthday. This was a choice. All of it. I ended the call, my heart racing but steady. Brittany's call came late that night, her voice desperate. Amber, the bank called. The loan's gone, my salon's done. I didn't mean for any of this. I didn't know about your money until you said it. I need you, sis, please. Her conflict was clear, that flicker of guilt for benefiting from their favoritism, but she still expected me to fix it, to fall back into being the reliable one. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling of my apartment, the ocean breeze drifting in. Brittany, I said, my voice calm but cold, you'll figure it out just like I had to. That's how it works when you're not the favorite. I hung up, her plea cut off mid-sentence. That was the last time I spoke to any of them. They kept calling, leaving voicemails. I didn't open texts I didn't read. The panic was real now. Brittany's dream was dead, her apartment lease at risk without the loan, and Mom and Dad scrambling to cover their own bills without my help. They were feeling the consequences, and I wasn't going to soften it. For years they'd leaned on me, mocked me, taken me for granted. Now they were out of chances, and I was out of patience. The line was drawn, and I wasn't stepping back over it. The day after I hung up on Brittany, I sat in my Huntington Beach apartment, the morning light filtering through the blinds and blocked their numbers. Mom's, Dad's, Brittany's. My finger didn't shake as I tapped each contact, sealing them out. The silence that followed was like a deep breath I'd been holding in for years. No more voicemails pleading for help. No more texts trying to pull me back into their chaos. It wasn't anger driving me anymore, or even pain. It was clarity, pure and sharp, that I didn't owe them my life. They didn't let go quietly. About a week later, a letter showed up at my door, Dad's handwriting scrawled across the envelope. Amber, I messed up, letting things get so unfair. Brittany's back home. No salon, no place to rent. I tried to keep peace, but I failed you. Can you come talk? It was raw, the most honest he'd been, admitting his peacekeeping didn't work, but it was still about saving Brittany, not fixing what they'd done to me. Mom added a note. You're so strong, honey, but we're struggling. Brittany didn't mean to take so much. Her guilt was there, less defensive now, but she still couldn't say the word sorry. Brittany emailed, blocked from texting, sis. I'm stuck with Mom and Dad, no job, nothing. I didn't know they took your savings. I feel awful. Can we fix this? Her desperation was clear, that boy roi from the party now a full-on plea, but she wasn't offering to change, just asking me to step back into the old role. I read it all, let the words sit for a moment, then tore up the letter and deleted the email. No reply. They were out of options now. Brittany, 24, was back in their spare bedroom picking up shifts at a local surf shop, her salon dreams dead without my cosign. A cousin texted me saying the house was tense. Brittany snapping at mom and dad, wrestling with the guilt of benefiting from their favoritism, but not enough to act on it. Mom and dad were stretched thin, dad's truck payments overdue, mom's medical bills stacking up without my monthly help. They tried one last time, pulling into my office parking lot 2 weeks later. I saw dad's truck from my window, mom in the front, Brittany slouched in the back, looking lost. I didn't go out. I called security, watched them leave, and felt nothing but relief. That month, I took a new job in Irvine, California, a step up in business admin with better pay. I packed my things, left Huntington Beach, and settled into a small apartment on a quiet street lined with orange trees. Friends I'd drifted from stepped in, inviting me to barbecues, movie nights, walks through Irvine's parks. They became my family, the kind that didn't ask for my worth in dollars or favors. Aunt Jessica called, once her voice steady. I told them they'd lose you, Amber. You did what was right. I thanked her, but kept her at arm's length. This new life was mine, no strings to the past. Brittany never got her salon off the ground. Last I heard, she's still at home, stuck, her internal conflict growing as she faces a future without my support. Mom and dad burned through what little they had, no longer cushioned by my help. They sent a few more letters, left messages through friends, but I didn't respond. The cutoff was complete, not out of spite, but because I saw my value didn't depend on their approval. That party, the cake, the banner, was the push I needed to stop being their crutch. I'd spent years holding them up only to be laughed at. Now I was free. This whole thing taught me something I want to share. Family isn't always the safe haven we're told it is. Sometimes the people closest to you hurt you most through favoritism, neglect, or expecting you to carry their burdens. My biggest lesson was this: you have to set boundaries to protect your peace, even with family. Self-reliance means knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone make you feel less. For me, that meant saying no, cutting contact, and building a life that lifts me up. I'm in Irvine now, surrounded by people who value me for me, not what I can give. That's what freedom looks like. This story's value for you is in spotting the signs of a toxic family early. Favoritism, like praising one sibling while dismissing another. Neglect, like ignoring your wins. Or taking you for granted, like using your money without asking. If you see those red flags, act fast. Say no to unfair demands, seek support from friends or mentors, and prioritize your mental health. Don't wait for a moment like my party to realize you're worth more. My advice: write down what you need from relationships, and if family can't meet, that it's okay to walk away. You're not alone, and you're enough. I'm sharing this to help you avoid the years I spent hoping for change that never came. If this resonates, take it as a wake-up call. Set those limits now before you're drained. Thank you for listening to my story. If it hit home, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with your thoughts or your own experiences. I'd love to know how you've navigated moments like this.